Hop into your Bronco, hold on to your pancakes, and take a drive with us as we return to Haven. This is Troubled, your favorite rewatch podcast dedicated to the Sci-Fi Channel show Haven, based on the Stephen King novella, The Colorado Kid. I'm your first host on our father-son podcast, Alex French.
And I'm your co-host, Rich, the older but way much cooler French. And by the way, this introduction is brought to you by Superfan Frank.
Yeah, we'd like to give a shout out to our fan Frank. He followed us on Patreon. He doesn't regret it. At least we speak for him. But we'll put in a testimony on our website or something from Frank. But we just want to give a shout out. So that's what you get when you, as far as when you join as a $1 tier as a Haven tourist, and further, you get a fan shout out for that. So at the time of this recording, Frank has now just earned his fan shout outs. There might be more in the future.
Hey, there'll be a Wu-Tang name coming as well, won't there?
Oh, yeah. All right. So just like every episode, we like to jump into the summary for those that haven't been watching the show as consistently, or, you're getting ready to jump back in later, but haven't yet. We kind of go through real quick, just a 10-minute little run through, just so you know. If you want to skip it, you can find it in the show notes where you can jump straight to the ratings and discussion. All right. So this one is episode 10, The Hand You're Dealt. We begin the episode with Duke and Audrey heading to the high school, right? We're going to go talk to Duke's old babysitter, because at the end of the last episode, the big revelation was that Duke was there the day of the Colorado Kid newspaper clipping. He was there with his babysitter. He doesn't have any memories of the events, but they're going to go talk to her to see if she has any memories of it.
Right. And then when they get there, his former babysitter is Vanessa Stanley, and she's now currently a high school guidance counselor. And she's trying to break up a fight between your prototypical jock Xander and Matt, who's kind of the outsider kid. And she doesn't do a very great job of breaking it up. And the principal ends up having to intervene and break up the fight. But then when the principal goes to, kind of chew Vanessa out because she didn't handle it very well, she realizes Vanessa is sick. She's feeling these weird lurching pains in her stomach. And then our next scene, we jump to Vanessa's dialing her phone, calling the principal, who's walking out to her car. And Vanessa's yelling at her, "Don't get in it, don't get in it." And the principal gets in the car anyway, and poof, a principal blows up. And then we jump into go to Nathan and Audrey at HPD talking about the car explosion.
Right. And Audrey just kind of like, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Doesn't seem like our type of thing. It's just a, typical car bomb. Happens every Wednesday. She's more interested in the Colorado Kid shit, right? So she wants to go talk to the photographer of the photo. What was his name?
Morris Crane.
Right. So they want to go talk to him. Her and Duke go talk to him, but he's a complete nut job. He's just talking about lobster monsters coming out of the ocean. So they really don't get it. And then he starts stripping naked, and they realize he's completely insane. So they get out of there. Right.
Crazy. Table for one.
Yeah. And kind of our next, I think we have a moment with like Audrey and Julia Carr having some drinks, but also the kind of next big important part is the pool, right?
Exactly. So we go to the Haven Dolphin Swim Club, and when you get there, you see Vanessa trying to get in. The swim coach won't let her in, and we see Xander being a complete tool in the pool, and he's being a dick with all his friends. And then Matt's there, like sitting on the sidelines, just creepily watching things. And all of a sudden, everyone else gets out of the pool, and Vanessa's pounding trying to get in, and the water starts boiling, and Xander is boiled like a lobster.
Duke is heading to the police station to ask Nathan for advice if it's weird to date his babysitter, right? And that's when he sees a sketch.
Right. I think he was there really to talk to Audrey, but Nathan was cutting them down. Hey, we don't got time for this. But yeah, he was asking even the kid who was the witness, is it okay to date your babysitter? And the kid's like, yeah, if she's hot. And he's like, yeah, see.
And that's when he sees the sketch, and it's Vanessa, and he's like, oh shit, I got to go find Vanessa. Right. And he goes to, she ends up at the Grey Gull, right? That's where he goes to talk to her.
Right. She initially tries to talk to Nathan at HPD, but then she kind of like loses her will to talk to him about it, because it is an odd thing she's going to have to talk to him about.
So Audrey and Julia also looking at old case files to see, because they're like, oh, maybe it's something that Julia's mom, Eleanor, kind of like, had all these mysterious case files. And I think they were looking into one about the Colorado Kid, looking through her old files, because she was there that day as well. And then they find the pyrokinetic information, right, which kind of leads them to the current case.
Right, because they're going through Doc Eleanor's old notes because she was a medical examiner, like student. She was in training with them, and she had notes on it. And they come up on about pyrokinesis and people being able to spontaneously start fires, which isn't quite necessarily what this is, but that gets them on the path to it.
Duke tries to talk to Vanessa at the bar at the Grey Gull. She freaks out in the middle of it and runs off. And then
Duke goes to her house to find her. And also they make the high school, Nathan and Audrey make the high school connection. So they figure, boom. And when they see the sketch artist drawing, they're like, this is Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all end up at Vanessa's house at the same time. Duke, Nathan, and Audrey. You know, Nathan's a little pissed at Duke because Duke's inside her house and he's like breaking and entering and all of that. But then they find all of her cryptic drawings and notes and list of names, and they figure out that the first two names on the list are dead. So they're going to go to the third name, which is Matt, and they go to find Matt. And when they go, they find Matt. They go to find Matt. They run right into Vanessa, and Vanessa tells them there's an emergency. There's going to be an explosion. We got to save Matt. So they kind of like all rush into the backyard. Nathan and Matt's there, and there's this girl, and she blows him off. And he's pissed about it. And Nathan and Duke grab the propane grill and throw it into the pool, and it takes forever, but does eventually explode. And then Vanessa comes clean and tells them about her trouble.
Right. So then they kind of retreat back to her house to kind of like figure out what's the next plan. They know her trouble is that she is seeing visions from people before they die. If I got that correct?
It's the last thing they see when they die. So
she's been seeing that, and she's been, so I guess like maybe predicting the future in a way. I get like, right. So the most recent thing she's seen is war and explosions and shit. And
right. And she remembers because previously she had forgot everything that happened on the day of the Colorado Kid picture, just like Duke had, but she remembered it, that she had saw a vision of how the Colorado Kid was going to die. And she shares it with Audrey at the house, that it was a hand with a tattoo going for his face.
Yeah.
Right. And she shares that with them. Nathan's inside talking about fate because we found somebody. He goes, what if you find somebody when you can't feel anything, but you can feel them? That sounds like fate. And Duke's like,
she left you, dude. Just left.
He's like, there's no such thing as fake. It's not a movie. And then Nathan's like, oh my God, it is a movie. And then they both figure out Dockside Green, where the kids, air movies, and Matt is allowed to go because he's the projectionist.
And that's what Vanessa's visions are. She's watching somebody. She's been seeing somebody watching the movie moments before they die. Right.
Right.
So then they rush, they go, they start kind of evacuating everyone. Matt, is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Figures out he has power and goes crazy with it because he's rejected by the same girl, again. So he's like, now like, oh, I got the power. And he's trying to, go crazy. Audrey and Nathan pull their guns on him. They're going to take him out. Duke, Vanessa's like, I can stop him. Like, I can stop him. She goes running forward. She gets blown up. Duke kind of trying to like retreat with her out of the area. So Audrey and Nathan confront Matt, and he superheats the guns so they can't shoot him, which Nathan can't feel. And Audrey has to tell him to drop it.
Right. And it's interesting because Matt didn't even realize he had the power till Audrey told him. And then, here's the weird thing is he has this power, and you think, oh my God, he's going to be concerned he's killed people. He thinks it's like the coolest fucking thing in the world. He's like, oh yeah, this is great. And he's like, you can't arrest me, prove it in court. And that's when he heats up the guns. And then Audrey comes up with this plan that, hey, we're going to mock him and ignore him and see what that does. And she ignores him, makes fun of him. I'm sick of this fake bad guy, whatever, words to that effect. And they turn their backs and start walking away. And Matt gets super pissed, and just the rage is so much, he explodes himself.
Right. So he dies, and Vanessa's on the ground. She's also dying from the explosion she just got caught in. And in her final moments, Duke's like, no, we're going to save you. She's like, no, I had a vision. I want to tell you how you die. real
which
quick.
she whispers into his ear. And then we get to our last scene of the episode, and the whole gang, when I say the whole gang, Audrey, Nathan, Duke, and Julia Carr are all at the Grey Gull, solemnly having drinks and discussing what occurred. Audrey's upset that, she feels she started everything by triggering Vanessa's power. And Nathan's like, nah, you were trying to save people. And then they ask, what did Vanessa tell Duke? And Duke says, what happened is some man with a tattoo with 4 people at the 4 compass points grabs my face. And then he's like, and then they said, we've seen that tattoo before. And he's like, well, great. That guy's dead. So I should be safe. And they're like, well, we know other people have that tattoo and there could be a lot more. And basically, and then Duke comes up with his, end of the whole end of the episode is, I'm going to find them first. And that's pretty much it.
What did you think? Like, what would you think of this episode? What rating would you give it?
Okay. So my main takeaways are, I really like this episode a lot. I mean, and obviously my notes initially when I did my rating was after my first viewing, where I wasn't taking notes. I was just enjoying, purely enjoying the episode, and just pure fan. And I gave it a 9 on the Frenchometer. Wow. And I really liked it. And you've pointed out some things to me in the notes that I'd probably bump it down to an 8 now that I think about it. But I based my rating off of my first viewing, not my second. I really liked all 3 of them working together. So I loved, the whole team working together with a common goal and actually, making jokes, even complimenting each other is kind of cool. But they still had their usual quips between them that were really funny. There's a lot of information provided towards the main arc as well in it. So that's why I gave it a 9. I really liked it, and one of my favorites so far.
I give it a 7. It does some things really well, and it does some things I think really sloppy. All the bigger kind of aspects of the episode I think are done really well. There's a lot of like big plot development to the overall story. I just felt like some of the details were kind of fudged and a little sometimes strange, just out of place, where you can tell that they're focused on these bigger aspects and nailing these like big moments, and like other things where you're like, well, wait, what? Like, what's going on with this? I felt like there was a lot of, it's tough because as like I said, a lot of things I really like and a lot of like question marks where I'm like, what? Like, what's this?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Like I said, after reading your notes and then after my second viewing, I probably would have bumped it down to an 8. But yeah, but I just went with what I originally really thought. But a 7 makes sense. I think that's a reasonable score.
Yeah. So like some problems I kind of had was, I think we both did, was Audrey's position at the beginning of the episode about the nature of this crime.
Yeah,
was completely absurd.
That was absurd. How the hell was Audrey not buying that there was something funky going on with a car explosion? Cars just don't blow up. Principals, who targets high school principals in the first place, is totally inconsistent with her character. She's the one who always is looking deeper. And this time it's Nathan.
I guess I would say the explanation is that she's so focused on the Colorado kid thing that she's kind of not really looking as hard as she normally would at this case, because she has finally found out, Duke was there, and she has like a tangible lead with Vanessa, right? And she wants to keep pursuing with the photographer. So I guess maybe really she knows she's wrong, but she doesn't really want to stop what she's doing to go do that. Because we do know Audrey is a dog, she's a hound. Once she gets like a scent of something, she doesn't let go.
Right. I mean, I guess I can semi buy that piece, but a person died. I mean, then again, I think back to
Nathan.
To Nathan with Sketchy,
where he's like, oh yeah, whoops, couldn't get it. Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna make this half-assed effort to save you from drowning.
Yeah, so maybe they hate principals and boat captains. Can you imagine if they got their hands on the captain from Captain and Tennille?
Oh my
anyway,
goodness!
Yeah, God knows what Nathan
blow
would
them
do.
up. Just once Matt heard "Love Will Keep Us Together," Matt would blow them up. Yes.
If you listen to our Patreon episode, the score on my dad's Frenchometer, what he gave Captain Tennille, and it is shocking. Anyway, Let's talk about the end. Let's jump there. I'm gonna start with some negatives first, and then the reverse of the sandwich, right? The criticism sandwich is nice thing, bad things, good thing. But I'm gonna go a little reversed here. I'm gonna start with the bad things, and then we'll roll into all the good stuff. The ending scene. What was he blowing up? Was it just fire coming out of the ground?
It's different because usually, like you said before, there was a catalyst, there was a car that exploded, there was a grill that exploded. Even with the guns, he's heating up the guns. But the only thing I could think of, and this is kind of a half-assed, excuse, is that maybe all those things were because he didn't realize he was doing them, and once he realized he had the power, now he knows how to, simultaneously create fireballs. I mean, it's lame, but that's maybe.
Yeah, normally he needs like a conduit with like we're saying is like these items. He needs things to blow up, but it's just fire erupting from the ground. And then he blows himself up through like his anger. Like, is that like he's not even mad at himself, right? He's not mad. Like he's mad at Audrey and Nathan. So why would he explode himself? In the other situations, he's blowing something else up. Wouldn't everything kind of around him erupt, or like he blow up the person he's mad at, or like make Audrey and Nathan's blood boil? Instead, he explodes himself. It's a pretty crazy gamble Audrey took.
Well, you got to remember, Vanessa has said he's an angry kid who has problems with his anger, and maybe Audrey was thinking that, hey, if I just make him so angry, he won't be able to control himself and get that outcome.
I think I would imagine what I would imagine what Xander did at the barbecue to be way worse than Audrey and Nathan at that point, right? If these cops were walking away from me calling me a loser, I don't think after I know that I'm a murderer, I don't know if I'm as affected by that as I am at a barbecue trying to go like talk to a girl and her being like, fuck you, and then this fucking jock coming up and starting to beat me up in front of everybody. I'm pretty sure that would piss me off way more.
Right, but that was when he was loser mad, and he finds out now that he's super powered villain mad, and maybe that changed. Once again, I know these are.
I was like, I don't understand how. Yeah, that
stretches.
wouldn't. I can't buy that. That would make him blow himself up. If he knows what he is now, to me, that's even less chance of that happening. Before, I would have bought that if he didn't know and he actually blew himself up. But now, I just can't understand. There's no way he blows himself up. I thought that was such an insane, stupid way to solve that situation.
Well, and I actually had written out a question for you. What do you think about how Audrey stopped Matt? Was there another option?
I thought what was going to happen was I couldn't tell what type of screen it was, but when I worked in outdoor movies, ours is inflatable, so it's all air. So I was wondering if he would ignite it and it would blow up, so he would accidentally blow himself up by blowing up something near him.
Why go through the effort of destroying the screen when you can just have him blow himself up?
I don't know.
It's convenient for them. It's convenient for the writers,
Or if Nathan was able to also, why didn't Nathan just shoot him? He can't feel anything. He should have just picked up the gun off the ground and been like, well, I'm just still going to fucking shoot you. I can manage to hold it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's tough. I also noticed that you you had some concerns about Vanessa's appearance after being exploded in a fireball.
Yeah, so Vanessa walks into one of Matt's spontaneous explosions that blow up out of just I guess maybe he's erupting stuff from the earth. And Vanessa gets blown up, and she has a trickle of blood coming from her mouth, just running down her lip. No charred skin, no burns, no singed hair, no scorch marks, literally just a trickle of blood.
Yeah.
Does that sound like somebody who, got blown up?
Yeah, maybe all the burns were on the backside, even though the blast hit her in the front.
It hit her in the face. So I don't know. I was just okay, guys.
Maybe she had so much makeup on that it prevented the outside, but she still cooked inside, which killed her. I don't know. You'll notice conveniently there's no commentary on this one as well, because I wanted to have some answers on some of these things, and
yeah. Yeah,
And
that was just like bad. That was just like we've run out of time and we don't want to cover her and all this shit. And maybe I don't know, maybe the actress is like, I don't want to get covered in that stuff, and they were like, or they were out of time that night and they were like, like fuck it, let's just do it.
No, I get your reservations. They're all legit points, and like I said, I'm just playing, as one of my coworkers who would not say devil, because she was very religious, wouldn't say devil's advocate. She say, I play angel's advocate. So.
So stupid. An angel's not trying to like tempt you. You know what I mean? Like a devil.
Sure it is. Come on, you want to pray. Hey, you want to go to church, take some communion, free wine.
Like the devil's
a wafer.
The devil's trying to like, get you to a different thought process. Whatever.
That's well, okay. So a couple of things here about the episode. There's no Teagues or Chief in this episode, but I don't think it matters.
I agree.
The three characters really carried it. I mean, it's Vanessa is not well acted, but Nathan and Audrey and Duke are very, very strong. Like it's probably the best episode for the three of them combined together as a group so far.
Yeah, I did think Julia's inclusion was a little, or I'm like, is she really that tight with the crew? I mean, I guess she's like very tight with Duke, but it almost feels like they set up Eleanor and are like, yeah, she's kind of too old to be hanging out with them. Let's just kill her off, replace her with her daughter, like Landfill 2 or something.
Yeah, this is Landfill's brother. Hey, you mind if we just call you Landfill as well? No, go ahead, call me Landfill. Very easily solved. Yeah,
that's kind of how it feels, where it's like Julia comes in and it's like, oh, I just happen to have all the information my mom had. I'm also a doctor, but I'm also age appropriate to you guys. So like I can hang out and have drinks. It just feels, like I said, a Landfill situation. But I like the character, so I'm not going to complain too much. I just thought it was funny and convenient.
Well, they do have a bond. I mean, she used to date Duke. She grew up in the same town as Nathan, and they all lived through her mother's death. So,
yeah, but she doesn't know. We don't know how much she knows Nathan, and then she barely knows Audrey. If anything, I would maybe like it combative, because like Eleanor was motherly to Audrey, and Julia always felt like pressured and like I don't know what's the right word, that Eleanor lorded over her life and was always trying to like command her, whereas she was more maybe nurturing to Audrey. I would like maybe that to be a little bit more resentment. That'd be a good arc, but I mean, Julia shares, why she's interested in being friends with Audrey, because Audrey's from outside of this petri dish that is Haven. So she does explain her reasoning for that. And Audrey kind of, while she grew up there, left and saw the world and feels like more of an outsider probably now. So but Julia does. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But I get your point. It would probably be more interesting if she had resentment for Eleanor having such a nurturing, even though sarcastic, relationship with Audrey.
Yeah. I mean, she fits in very nice. Like I said, it just feels like they were like, oh, we like Eleanor, but she doesn't really fit in with the group. So let's kill her off and sub in her daughter, who fits in with the group. Even though I liked Eleanor. But also, last episode is probably my favorite. So I'm cool with it still.
Well, I have a note here about, my exact words are holy hell, where there are a lot of King references.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So where do we want to start? We want to start with probably the big one is Firestarter.
Right. When they're in the office talking about going through Eleanor's notes and they find, talking about pyrokinesis and all of that. And that's clearly based on King's Firestarter from 1980.
Mm-hmm. So, have you ever read Firestarter?
I did not. I saw the movie when I was a kid, but I don't really recall it much. I'll probably rewatch it just because they brought it up. And
the one starring Drew Barrymore.
Right.
Not the sequel, the TV movie sequel.
Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing the TV movie sequel on the air.
Because it came out 20 years later. I think it came out around the same time that they did Desperation and Nightmares and Dreamscapes. So like, I feel like every 10 years or so, there's a King boom, and we're in the middle of one right now. Although this is maybe the most aggressive I've ever seen it. And I think that's because the entertainment world has moved so much closer to existing intellectual property, and anything that's existing IP, they will convert because they're too afraid to do original stuff. But anyway, it was in that kind of like early 2000s boom where it felt like they were doing a bunch of King stuff for like 5 or 6 years. Like I'd probably say from something like The Mist, I think, is kind of the end of it, and then it picks back up a little bit later.
Yeah, it goes on cycles like that. I sure see that as well. And then I had one that just Vanessa's condition itself, being able to see these people's death moment, and then the way she like cramps up in her stomach, I thought Dead Zone right away.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it, but once I saw your note, I was like, oh yeah, it is just like Dead Zone. How did I not realize that?
Yeah, and considering Ernst and Dunn worked on Dead Zone the series,
just like, what are we gonna do for this trouble? Let's just
what do we do in Dead Zone?
Yeah,
what do we do in Dead Zone? Yeah. And then lastly, Morris Crane, the Colorado Kid photographer,
right, talking
about lobster rights, did a chick.
So yeah, he sees giant lobster monsters coming out of the water, which is just like in the Gunslinger in the second book, the drawing of the 3, the lobsters start coming out of the water at night and give Roland a tough time.
Let's just say he has to change shooting hands afterwards.
Yeah, he can't do the shocker anymore. But one thing we didn't talk about for Firestarter
or Bull.
Or Bull.
I'm going the Christianly route on that one.
Angel's Advocate.
Angel's Advocate.
One thing, we weren't able to find a video. I'm going to try to put in the show notes if I can find a link to it. Maybe it's on Hulu. But SNL did a Firestarter skit with Drew Barrymore where it was a commercial for Firestarter brand smoked sausages, which I hope it's really funny. We haven't watched it yet, but we'll put in the link to see if we can find it. We'll put a link in the show notes, see if we can find it for you guys. And because the food commercial will be important later in this episode.
Yeah, I wish I could have seen it. And maybe I saw it back in the day when I was a kid, but
this was 2007.
Oh, this was later. Okay,
I was like, you probably saw this.
Yeah, because they've had some tremendous celebrity commercials. Derek Jeter's Taco Hole and Stevie Nicks Mexican restaurant. I can't remember the name. It goes on and on. SNL's commercials are probably some of the funniest bits they have, and still where the cast's at now, probably the commercials probably the funniest parts. Yeah, so that would be out of Stephen King's book, the 1987 book, The Drawing of the 3, which is the second in the Gunslinger series, which is historically probably been my favorite book in the series. I really love that book in particular.
All right, since we're talking about there's no way to tie this in. So with the outdoor movie, I thought that was really, and I know why they did it, because I think I know why they did it. I think what's really weird for me is the outdoor movie scene isn't set up properly at all, right? It feels like it comes out of nowhere, where they're like, oh yeah, just happens that there's an outdoor movie event tonight, and it's like, okay, really, we couldn't. Okay, so take for example, I was watching Scream 4 recently, and in Scream 4, earlier on in the movie, they kind of mentioned that they do in the universe, it's called Stab, right? It's like it's so meta that it's poking fun at itself. They're the Stab movies. They have Stab movie marathons, and it's mentioned earlier in the movie. So then obviously later in the movie, some shit's going to go, when you get to it and they're like, oh shit, it's happening at the Stab movie marathon out in like the farm, you're like, oh, of course. Whereas here they're like, oh, it's at the outdoor movie. That's where Matt is. And you're like, okay, so I think there could have been a scene earlier where we saw like a poster for, and maybe I missed it. But a poster for outdoor movie, like, fucking A Bridge Too Far, Patton, whatever the fuck the war movie they probably couldn't afford that, but whatever it turns out to be. And what would have been I think a great time to do it is because this was also fucking weird, was in the Grey Gull when Duke is talking to Vanessa, that softball team that just randomly runs in out of, like, there's like, oh, you're like, what's like, who are you're like, kind of like, oh, is this kind of important? Why these guys run in here? And they don't mean anything. They had nothing to do with like anything. I guess Vanessa gets stressed out because there's so much commotion that she has another vision, but I felt that was pretty weak. Whereas we could have had some teenagers coming in and being like, dude, are you going to go to the movie tonight or whatever?
Yeah, maybe the softball team were the parents driving their kids to the movie, their teenage kids. I don't
Yeah.
know. That
Yeah.
that
If we
was
dropped the kids off at the movie, we're going to get a drink.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The movie, we dropped them off at like 2 p.m. For the movie at like 9.
Yeah, and if this was 2020, the parents would be back there in lounge chairs drinking fucking White Claws and
Yeah.
pretending that you're not as bad of a lush as someone drinking beer.
Oh yeah, when I did outdoor movies at in Stapleton, Colorado, the parents would get liquored up and let their kids do whatever they wanted. So I felt like the movie night was just really just thrown in there out
Well,
of nowhere.
Well, the way it comes about, it really, Nathan gets inspired when Duke says, life isn't this movie. There's no script. And then it hits his head. He must remember, oh, Dockside Green. Well, they both remember Dockside Green at the end. But then he figures out first it's the movie. And then when they're talking about it being a movie, both of them realize, oh, my God, the kids are watching movies at Dockside Green. I mean.
So sure, in universe, it makes sense. But to you and me, the audience, this doesn't make sense because we don't have any context to what Haven, Maine's like rituals and events are, right? Like you could be like, oh, well, I know there's, I know that there's always like a Taste of Colorado every year, right? So like if I'm writing, I know that, but the audience, people who aren't from Denver don't know about Taste of Colorado. So you have to establish this earlier in the episode, right?
Yeah, free music in Civic Center Park if you get people to move the tents, and incredibly overpriced food. But
right. But my point is that it's not established. It's assuming that we would know anything about this fictional town's scheduling, like of their public events.
Right. True. I get that. It could have been done better. They could have mentioned it. Carly, the principal, could have mentioned it. Matt, if you don't stop fighting, I'll tell your parents, and you won't be able to go to Dockside Green and run the projector.
Now, when I said the reason I thought they didn't do it was because I think they knew we would catch on. Like, so I think he was like, well, if I mention anything about a movie too soon, the audience will realize that Vanessa's seeing a movie. So I think they had their choice of, do I set this up properly or do I go for the like reveal? Which I think it's always smarter to go for the setup because it's better for your audience to feel like, oh, for the people who don't catch it, go like, oh, I should have realized that versus us being like, yeah, how would I ever have guessed?
Do you think they created it like right on the spot? They were like, okay, we're writing at the house, and then all right, we got to get to the end. Boom.
No, or I think they had the movie planned, but he probably just didn't have like a good mechanism to get there, and he was just like,
and not give away that it's Matt.
Yeah, which I don't know how you didn't guess that from the barbecue party. I was like, or the pool. I was like, yeah, it's that kid. And they're like, we got to find this Xander kid. And I was like, what? It's the fucking creepy kid. Like, why? He's been at all. Like, I know both of them were at every event, but like, he's the one getting bullied. Why would Xander be like, hell yeah, I'm beating up this bully? Like, and these girls are kind of laughing and enjoying it. I could probably, like,
that
make out with
Xander.
one of them. Oh, yeah, you're right. That
Xander got boiled in the pool. That was Brad.
Right, Brad. Whatever. Xander, Brad, they're all the same. They're all pod kids.
They're off at Aeropostale or whatever, or American Eagle buying some polos.
I think you're like, well, yeah, I guess maybe in 2010. I was like, not in 2020.
2010. See, I'm talking about 2010.
Yeah, but why would Brad be like upset? Like, dude, I'm so mad about this bully, like not me getting to kick his ass even harder that I blew up this barbecue pit. I'm sorry, not pit, barbecue.
Well,
grill.
You should. It should blow up because as someone who lives in Texas, you always cook with charcoal. Propane is lame. Propane is lame.
What did you think? You mentioned in the summary that you thought Vanessa wasn't a great, or maybe it was the ratings, but you mentioned Vanessa wasn't a great actress.
Yeah, I didn't mention it I've mentioned it while we were discussing this, but you were the one who came up with that in the notes. But you totally, yeah. But I was like, once I read that from you, I was like, you know what, you're right. She really wasn't very good. But I did have some concerns besides about her acting, which I'll let you talk more about. But what did you think about Vanessa Stanley being Duke's former babysitter? His babysitter who essentially looks the exact same age, if
not younger. Like, I'm like, Duke, he's probably like 30, 31. She looks like she's like 26.
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous, and that's her in the Colorado Kid picture. No,
How old was Janine when she babysat you?
from like 16 to 18. Yeah,
Okay. Yo, I was like Carly. Sorry, not
yeah. She,
Carly.
she was at least 50. She was 12 years older than me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's an age because she can, she can reason, she can do things. Vanessa would have to be like an 8-year-old baby, whatever. How old Duke would be at the time? What, like
Yeah, an
8?
eight-year-old babysitting a 10-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. Or flip that, but yeah, like a 10-year-old babysitting an 8. I guess that could happen, but like, uh, I don't know. I'm not.
I don't
buying
think she
it.
could be a licensed daycare provider. So I thought that was kind
Well,
of
it's a small town, like family friend type thing where they're
yeah.
like, maybe
Yeah,
her
back in
dad
the
just
80s, they didn't have all that license
yeah.
shit and
I was
all
like,
of
maybe her
that.
dad, was just like, hey, watch Duke, and left, to do whatever, go hang out at the Rusty Bucket
Maybe he went out to drinking with Duke's dad.
and the Rev. Maybe it was like
And the
a
Rev, yeah, it was a power trio.
yeah.
That's right. Maybe Chief joined them and they were the Four Horsemen. Yeah.
well, I won't say anything else. Yeah, I thought the actress who played Vanessa was really bad, and I thought some of her lines were. I mean, in her defense, also, I thought some of her lines were not good that she had to like deliver. Emily Rose, Lucas Bryant, and Eric Balfour are stronger actors, and I think they can work with some lines that aren't always expert lines, great lines, so they can kind of work, they're charismatic and good enough actors to roll with it. Whereas Vanessa, I felt like she wasn't strong enough to deal with some of the like kind of weird stilted lines that she got, like especially the scene where her and Audrey are out talking on the balcony where they unlock her memories of the day and she has her, tells Audrey about her vision. I thought that scene was really bad. And what made it even worse was the contrast to the scene inside with Nathan and Duke, which was awesome. That was one of the best exchanges of the show. Contrasted to one of my least favorite exchanges of the show yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really enjoyed what was going on inside the house, but it just outside, it was pretty weak. But
I just happened to remember what happened that day with the Colorado. Oh wow, you just happen to remember right now.
So, well, and then a second little nitpicky thing. Did you saw Vanessa's house? A high school guidance counselor can afford that house. I mean, come on.
Vicky could afford Vicky and her dad. They're like, yeah, we're barely getting by.
We're going to sell the house, but look, we have a whole separate building for an art studio. Yeah.
In a really nice house. Like their main house was really nice. I don't know, maybe real estate's just really cheap in Haven. Probably because of the troubles, the troubles, people don't want to live there. And the real estate agencies have trouble selling houses. They're like, oh, fuck, everybody's always running because there's a hurricane. There's a mad captain trying to blow up the church,
Yeah, but the troubles are just back for 27 years. So, after 27 years. So
it's left over from the first time,
It could be. I found that was kind of ridiculous.
It's probably your drunk dad who probably got in an accident or probably got killed by the Rev or something.
Yeah, insurance money.
Yep, exactly.
Insurance money. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but I agree.
But then, I hate to keep going back to Vanessa, feel like I'm beating up on her. But, and in this case, I'm not beating up on her. But, what do you think about Audrey triggering her? She triggers her, and then within 2 days, she's filled an entire room full of notes, sketches. I mean...
Yeah, I feel like Vicky's felt like, and for anyone that doesn't remember, Vicky was the sketch artist who could draw, everything she drew had what effects on real life. I feel like Vicky was implied that had been happening for a while, but just the captain aspect was the new kind of element to it, right? Whereas like Vanessa, it's kind of like it comes out of nowhere. And yeah, she's drawn all these hundreds of notes, but in the show, we kind of see one happen like twice a day. So what was happening before, like that she saw like 20 in 2 days and then just like 2 here?
Yeah, I think that's what they're kind of saying, trying to make it say is that Audrey triggered her and she did all of those notes in 2 days. And I just don't, I mean, she'd be cramping up like every 20 seconds, and I loved the episode. So, but, got to give you some commentary on some of the things as we see them. So,
yeah, I got I got 2, but it's one scene, but a couple notes of the final scene. The tattoo. Let's talk about the tattoo on the arm. One, cool. It was placed earlier in the season, so I like that. That we, it wasn't like knew, right? It wasn't like the movie thing where we are like, oh Jesus, like where did that come from? We saw the tattoo clearly. We knew it was going to be important. Obviously that tattoo artist, like we called, that tattoo artist did not make that fucking design considering it existed back in the 80s. My point that I really wanted to get to was that Duke's like, yeah, she told me this tattoo is going to be on the arm of the guy who's going to, he's going to reach for my face and kill me. And Nathan's like, was it this tattoo? And draws it for him. And Duke's like, yeah, that's it. How would Duke know what it looks like?
Because she described it to him, and she said, and he said it is 4 people at the 4 compass points.
Right, and he described it though.
Yeah, Duke describes it, and then Nathan draws it and shows it to him. And Duke says the four people at the 4 compass points, and then Nathan draws it. So
yeah, so Nathan has the information from Duke. Duke says it's 4 people on compass points in a circle. Blah, blah, blah. Nathan's like, does it look like? So then Nathan draws exactly what Duke's describing. Just let's assume, okay, think of it like this. Assume Nathan has no idea. Assume Nathan's never seen the tattoo before. All Nathan would have to do is just listen to what Duke's saying, draw it out, and be like, is it this? And Duke's like, yeah, that's what I described to you, but I don't know. I wouldn't know if that's actually correct or not, Nathan, because I haven't actually ever seen the tattoo. So how would Duke's reaction be like, oh, that's it, like how would he have a that's it moment? He doesn't know what it looks like.
Yeah, but that fits the description you just gave him. It's kind of dumb.
It's like if I told you if I was
dumb, but
if I was like, yeah, the painting was pure red, and you were like this, and you showed me a red painting, I'm like, oh, well, actually, I don't know. I never saw the painting, but that is a red painting, which I told you, you have that information. So for Nathan and Audrey, it's a pretty crazy, it would be a big moment, right? For them being like, oh shit, we've seen this tattoo before, and it's crazy for them, but for Duke to be like, yeah, that's it. How would he know that's it? Nathan could have drawn fucking something, what he's describing with no idea what he's talking about. I'd be like, is this it? And Duke would be like, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's true, because Duke didn't see it, even though we saw it when
yeah. So once again, we know, but Duke wouldn't know that.
Well, even when Vanessa tells Audrey about it, she's they show a visual of the white pale arm with the tattoo.
Yeah,
like did she use the shinning to share it with Audrey?
That's
how we're seeing it.
Audrey's like, oh no, that tattoo, and it's like, okay, well, how would you know that's the right tattoo? Once again, people are like telekinetically transferring information to each other.
Yeah, and then Vanessa must have used the shinning with
Duke.
With Duke as well.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're kind of seeing, because also when she's whispering, I was like, okay, she has enough time to tell you that a guy's going to reach out. And then she had enough time to describe this entire tattoo into like 5 seconds. She's whispering in your ear. Like, give me a break.
She was going really, really fast.
Yeah, like, I'm in my final moment. It's gonna be a tattoo with like 4 people at the compass, and like, here's the design. I don't know about that.
She must have used the shinning. Yeah,
the only explanation.
Yeah.
Also, Duke's final line, I felt like, was just not a great final line.
I'm gonna find them first.
No, that's not his final line. His final line is, looks like we're on the same team.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
Which I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean we're on the same? Like, whose team were you on before?
He was on Duke's team, which means he's still on Duke's team.
Yeah, like I'll be like, yeah, this doesn't change anything. You're not here to like get justice or to find the truth. You're just here to kill this person.
Well, yeah, and
you're helping.
Audrey and Nathan are cops. Yeah, they're not going to let you just go murder somebody.
But also, it's like, or I'd be like, yeah, you were helping us out before, so what the fuck was that? Like, were you not on our team when you were assisting? It's just a funny, like, he should have ended with what you said, is like, I'm going to find him, because I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm incorrect, I'll put in the show notes if I'm incorrect, but I think he says, I'm going to find them, but he doesn't say I'm going to find them first, which I think would be the best, because I think I was thinking the same, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to say, I'm going to get him first, but then he doesn't actually say it, he says, it looks like we're on the same team. Because I think earlier he says, I'm going to find him. But then says, looks like we're on the same team, and takes a drink.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch that scene just to double check it because yeah, my notes said DC tells them DC for Duke Crocker because I'm not
Mhm.
going to type out Duke Crocker every time. That takes a lot of time, and I'm not the world's best typist. But yeah, my notes say Duke tells them he's going to find them first. But you're right. I do remember that the last thing he does says looks like we're on the same team.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny where I was like, yeah, were you not like friends with us? Were you not helping us? Like he literally helped them with the sketch artist guy. He like was in on the plan, they took him out. He helped Nathan kill the captain.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
he was kind of key to the
but yeah,
whole
Duke's the one who
plan.
tackles him.
Yeah, Duke pretty much Duke was the plan.
Yeah, so I don't know why he's like, well, it looks like we're on the same team. I'm like, yeah, we have been for like a bit. Like you were helping. Well, I guess he was kind of against them with the whole shapeshifter thing. He really was not cooperative at all in that whole situation. He was threatening everyone with an axe the entire time. But to talk about the positives, because I've talked about a lot of negative things, even though I ranked it a 7, is that, like I said, I really liked that Duke Nathan scene where where Nathan's talking about, what if you could feel someone's touch was really good. There's a part of you that's like, this is a little cheesy, but it was good. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was, I actually had a note on that as well. Is that how Nathan, he's consumed by the fact that he can feel Audrey's touch, and he's, and he buys into the fate thing. That's got to be fate, right? And all of that, and then like I said, he like works really hard to try to find ways to get contact with her, high five, let's shake hands, and agree on how we're going to investigate.
And Audrey's like, what the fuck? Yeah, but it was I really like that. I have to agree. Yeah. It didn't feel creepy.
It didn't feel creepy at all. Exactly. And and when I think about myself, if I was going through life and I couldn't feel anything, and then I finally found someone I could, I'd probably be doing the same thing. I'd probably be like walking by, like, oh, bumped you in the ass, and not with the hands. All right.
Yeah. Whoa.
We don't need no sexual harassment, at the HPD. So, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I also like Duke and Nathan's I like their kind of relationship in this. Like, it felt Duke was a bit more antagonistic to Nathan in this episode. But I enjoyed it. Like at the house, like you were saying, is that, Nathan was like, Duke answers the door like, all right, we get it. And Nathan's like, yeah, wow, you're breaking and entering. He's like, that's what you're worried about. It felt a bit more hostile, but but you still feel that like that line of friendship in the like hostility. That even the begrudging friends.
You see them; they're coming together as the season goes on.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm never going to say they're going to be buddy always, but you see it coming together. So I did like that as well. And we got to go back though. We got to go back to the freaking Morris Crane, the photographer, and the lobsterites. I mean, what the fuck was that about? I
think it's just a comedic relief. You heard Jim Dunn on the commentaries. He's a prankster, dude.
He is a prankster, but yeah, because I see no benefit at all for that scene. He starts undressing. Just
I think it's just comedic relief.
Okay,
but yeah, I agree that like in terms of plot, and maybe there was a good time to mention the movie where he's like, or like Duke could be like, oh yeah, maybe he saw it. He's been watching too many movies at what's the place called that
Dockside Green.
He's been seeing too many movies at Dockside Green, or doing shrooms at Dockside Green.
Dockside Green, yeah, yeah. But it did deliver what I thought was the line of the episode: "Crazy table for one," which was pretty good.
Yeah, I think I was just so like, I don't know, starstruck or whatever phrase you want to use for like mentioning the lobsters from the drawing of the three, that I was like, like, I didn't really care. I never even thought about how useless that scene was, because I was like, oh man, I know what this is. These are the fucking lobsters from drawing of the three. Like, this is awesome. And I like immediately like wrote down a note. I was like, oh yeah. Even though I don't always write down notes my first time through, but that time I was like, oh, I got to write this down. I cannot forget this.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I also like at the end, Nathan, in the Grey Gull, when the four of them are having drinks, he says like, he basically says he doesn't believe in fate at the end, but I feel like he's just saying it to, or, he's like, screw fate.
Screw fate.
But he's just kind of saying it to make Audrey and Duke feel better, I think.
Yeah,
he obviously is like, no, this is fucking fate. Like my partner can feel my touch. So like, you guys are it. You're like, sorry, Duke, you're dying, buddy.
You're dying, bro, because I'm getting touched.
I also like how Duke, was like it was a nice in-universe moment. He's like, oh yeah, but Jess left, bro. Like, because I kind of had already forgotten about Jess, to be honest. I honestly had already forgotten about her. So when he mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, like people in universe would assume he's talking, he's still like, talking about Jess with this like stuff, because hasn't revealed to really anyone except a shapeshifter about Audrey's touch, who then he killed.
Jess Minion, the ultimate plot tool.
Yeah, pretty much. There's like, yeah, we need a character that one size fits all for every situation.
We need a tranquilizer gun. Oh, she's peaceful, so she has tranquilizer darts. Oh, no,
she's a reason for Audrey to kiss Nathan on the cheek. Yeah, here we go.
That was interesting. And what? It was cool. It was a big reveal. Is we don't know what the tattoo means yet. But we know someone, or more likely some people with the tattoo, killed the Colorado kid and is or are prophesized to kill Duke as well. And that's a huge reveal.
Well, so. I would love if that guy who died with the tattoo was just like, that was the guy, because he was just a lobster poacher, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it'd be funny if they're like, yeah, well, we got him. It's like the most unimportant, because he died because of Helena, and then his partner pushed him out to sea in the boat and just left his body.
Phil Riser, good old. Why I remember Phil Riser's name is probably because of his last name, because I worked in a pharmacy when Viagra first came out, and it was made by the drug company Pfizer, so its nickname was the Pfizer Riser. So
that's pretty good. Phil Riser. I bet Jim Dunn did that too.
But now when you think about it, hey, who better to get with a succubus than a riser? Oh my goodness, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I thought that was cool. And then my last kind of note that was we finally got our first visual of Laverne at HPE.
True. And yeah, she's obscure, kind of out of focus in the background, but.
And it's only her from behind, but we see Laverne with the smoky, smooth stylings in her voice.
Do you think she has a podcast?
She probably does. I mean, if we have a podcast,
anyone can have one.
Yeah, I think since we have a podcast, I think my cat's got two. So,
I think we're done with the episode, right?
Yeah.
It sounded very negative because I thought, like I said, there's a lot of small details to pinpoint on, but I thought the core was very, very strong. I didn't mention I also liked the Julia. We didn't really talk about it, but the Julia Audrey having some drinks at the Grey Gull scene also I liked. I liked seeing kind of a more human side of Audrey again. But speaking of the Grey Gull, since there's so much time spent at the Grey Gull this episode, we decided to have a little fun like we like to do at the end of every episode. We like to do a little special segment. So we decided to come up with dinner menus for the Grey Gull. So we both picked an appetizer, 3 entrees, a dessert, and a cocktail or a drink for the Grey Gull that might be on their menu. So we're going to kind of pitch them at each other and see what we think. As usual, we don't tell each other our results. So we're surprising each other just as much as you guys. And if you have menus, if you're like, this would be awesome or hilarious, tell us what you would put on the Grey Gull's menu. We kind of try to make them a bit Haven themed or a bit Maine themed, the state. We'll see what we came up with.
Okay, so I'm going to go first with my apps.
Appetizer.
So I came up with 2 appetizers, actually. So first, from when I was a kid, this used to be one of my favorite things to eat until my taste buds changed, and that was popcorn shrimp. That's a great appetizer. And then for my second one, it's got to be a lobster pup.
I was going to say a lobster pup. That was going to be my second. Yeah, the lobster pup from episode 4, Consumed, correct? What, John Robert?
Yeah, something? John Robert.
Yeah.
Or is it,
why, yeah, why would he ever eat those?
Because it's not real shrimp.
Or lobster, you mean?
Oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, lobster. Fucking shrimp.
Well, now you just revealed the secret that your popcorn shrimp isn't real shrimp. It's composite.
It's composite shrimp. That's
plankton.
Right. It's fully matured sea monkeys.
Yeah, okay. For my appetizer, I mine's called it's normal. It's a little cheesy. We'll see. It's gonna sound stupid. You're not gonna know what I'm talking about at first, for sure. They're called deep fried cargiers. So I was looking up specific menu items or specific foods to Maine, and I found something called fiddlehead ferns. They're like these little plant vegetable things you can eat. Or the French originally called them croziers. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So I changed it to deep fried cargiers, so Carr, like Julia and Eleanor Carr.
No,
you can tell you went for a real restaurant. I went for like Long John Silver titles.
Yeah. Captain D's.
Yeah, Captain D's, Blackbeard's cod or something. So mine themed deep fried cargiers.
We don't know what the fuck we're pulling out of the freezer, but it's all going in the deep fryer together. Just throw it in, and that's your basket.
These are fiddlehead ferns, all right? They're it's a nice vegetable. The fiddlehead is because they curl to look like a fiddle's head, like the end of a violin, actually.
Oh, but that's your vegetarian option, right?
Yeah, just deep fried.
Yeah, deep fried like canola oil. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to Okay, well, let's choose. I'd probably go with the popcorn. Well, no, I hate popcorn. I hate shrimp. But I also have no idea how fiddlehead ferns taste, so I don't know if I could say that. But it's deep fried, so maybe I go with it. What would you choose? Or would you choose a lobster pups?
Well, since I don't like real seafood, probably the lobster pup. Because
but it has lobster.
Lobster composite, whatever the hell that is. Yeah. I don't think there's any real lobster in it. It's
all right, so you choose lobster pups for your appetizer.
Right.
For our night at the Grey Gull.
Yes.
Okay.
That would sadly be my.
All right. What's your first entree, or do you want me to go?
No, I'll go first.
Okay. So we have 3 entrees. We'll go back and forth.
So my first one is lobster pie. So this is locally caught lobster tail, claw, and knuckle meat. First of all, I didn't know
knuckle
meat, and it's capped with a buttery Ritz cracker and lobster tamale crust. So it's kind of basically like a lobster pot pie, and it's a specialty that comes out of Wells, Maine.
Well, I hate lobster. I don't hate lobster. I do hate lobster. So
I hate all seafood. So
okay. All right. Well, so my first entree is dependent on you knowing Arrested Development. If you haven't watched Arrested Development, this is going to sound fucking crazy. But if you remember in Arrested Development, Tobias Funke dresses up as a British maid named Mrs. Featherbottom to get closer to his estranged wife because they've separated and he's trying to like get closer. So he tries to pull Mrs. Doubtfire, right? But a lot of things he says as Mrs. Featherbottom are just completely ass backwards wrong and, obviously are crazy sounding and very sexual. This entree is called the Lumberjack's Banger in the Mouth.
Oh, Christ. Oh, my God.
Because
we just lost any women listeners we had.
No, because Tobias explains that in England, Mrs. Featherbottom explains that in England, a sausage is called a banger in the mouth. but I spell it like Bangor, like Bangor, Maine.
Bangor, Maine, right.
So it's the Lumberjack's Banger in the Mouth.
Oh, fuck.
So this meal is I looked it up, but a Maine kind of meal is a whole beans. It's basically just like beans cooked in a kind of like molassesy beans made in a cast iron skillet. And I've seen like more and like some other stuff like it's pork. It's some kind of pork, molasses, and beans kind of all cooked together. And they learned it from like Native American. The French learned it from Native Americans, and then New Englanders learned it from the French. Because back then beans weren't really an essential thing or weren't like as widespread. And this eventually led to like canned beans becoming way more popular in New England because the Maine people ate a lot of whole beans. But I'm substituting the bacon for sausage to complete the Lumberjack's Banger in the Mouth.
Okay, so kind of the fucking play off of that. So my second is a traditional clam bake, and you're gonna love the ingredients. So we've got plump steamers, lobster tail, Maine potatoes, salt pork, and an egg. And then the main ingredient is really apropos to the last one: Bang Island mussels.
Bang Island mussels. Man, that sounds like a porno or something. Bang Island mussels or a porn star. Uh,
That could be gay porn, right? A bunch of weightlifters. Hey, want to go to Bang Island? Huh?
it could be any kind of porn to go
Any
to Bang.
kind, any kind.
Some muscular folks at Bang Island.
Take the skinny boat to Bang Island?
It's gonna be the sequel to Temptation Island. Okay. I guess like I'm not into clams or lobster once again, so hard for me to order that tonight.
I found it interesting that it's called a clam bake, but there's no clam in it.
Yeah, that's true. There was no clam in it.
Yeah, that's it should be a mussel, a Bang Island bake.
Yeah, you should just that's what you call that's what your entree is called on the menu.
I took a real entree from a real Maine restaurant. Yeah.
See, that's your mistake. That's your mistake right there.
And that one's from a seafood restaurant in Portland. I guess I didn't I really didn't get the concept well enough that so shame on me. Shame on me.
All right. So my next entree, these are real items, by the way, in Maine on this one. It's Rev's Red Snapper hot dog. You could get a Rev's Red Snapper hot dog. So in Maine, they have red snapper hot dogs. They're like basically red, like hot dog wieners instead of the kind of regular color. With a side of Humpty Dumpty chips and a can of Moxie Tonic, which Humpty Dumpty is like their fucking local chips up there, and Moxie is like their soda that I heard described as wintergreen and licorice is like the fucking taste. And I guess they call it a tonic instead of, that's what the phrase is for soda apparently up there. So this one's kind of the one. This is the one to kind of watch your Red Sox too, right? Is you watch your Red Sox and you get a Rev's Red Snapper hot dog. Yeah, you could take away something a little bit more gross about it, but I don't think there's anything inappropriate about Rev's Red Snapper hot dog.
Oh, could be phallic. Could be phallic. I don't know. Freud would say it was phallic, for sure, but he said everything was phallic.
Yeah, I was like, what
Everything's sexual. Yeah. No, and that's funny. They have the red snapping hot dogs in Denver on Colfax. Yeah, Steve it's the hot dog place called Steve Snappin' Dogs.
Oh, I've actually been to Steve Snappin' Dogs. That's right.
Yeah. They have a weird one where they have it, the hot dog in a tortilla. It's not a weird. It's just that's what I'm like. What the hell? Yeah.
All right. What's your third entree?
Oh, and my third entree comes from a restaurant in Wiscasset, and it's just a lobster roll, which is basically just lobster parts. Like a lot of the stuff in the lobster pie just baked into a roll, and they put it kind of like on it's almost like a bun. It's almost like an actual lobster pup, kind of, in a way. So, but yeah, that was it. And
I think we've like reversed how the like casting went, where you casted, a Comedy Central version of Haven, whereas you've now created like a real Grey Gull restaurant. I've created like a fucking Chuck E. Cheese. Well, this isn't appropriate for the lumberjack's banger in the mouth is not appropriate to Chuck E. Cheese, I guess.
Yeah, the kids don't need no Bang Island mussels. All right?
That's true. Or the Bang Island Bake Off or whatever.
That'll get you on an episode of To Catch a Predator. Yeah.
All right, so my third entree is it's a Crocker family recipe. It's called the Crocker's Cream and Clam Chowder.
Cream and clam. Oh, geez.
Yep. It's just a creamy clam chowder with lobster pups on the side. So I did have lobster pups in an entree item.
Well, yeah, you can take the lobster pup and dip it into
the creamy clam chowder.
Into the chowder. Yeah.
We had to get some chowder in there since it's New England.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I didn't want my menu to get too expansive. You reach for too much and nothing.
Yours are all lobster.
No, well, yeah, the clam, the Bang Island mussel clam bake, but it has more than just lobster in it. It's got lobster tail, but it's got potatoes,
lobster knuckle
pork,
meat,
egg. Oh, that's in the lobster pie. That's the lobster pie. So
It's a lobster pie, clam bake that actually has no clam, just lobster. Not just lobster, but lobster and pork. And then the lobster
and
roll.
plump steamers, yeah. And
Yeah, don't forget the plum steamers.
and the Bang Island mussels are the key ingredient.
You're right.
So for the drink, I'm gonna cheat and I'm just gonna go with the Haven Pale Ale. That was in the refrigerator during the what was it, the stuffed episode with
fur is what it's called. Episode 6.
Yeah, I'll go with the Haven Pale Ale.
Oh, good choice. Got the hipster. You probably got a lot of hipsters up there now in Maine, making some craft beer
with thick, big, thick, woolly sweaters tied around their necks. Yeah, that's right.
All right. So my drink is the Valentino V Valentini.
Yeah, I like that.
Or the VVV or triple V, whatever you want to call it. But the Valentino.
It's all about the V.
I was like, it works on multiple levels. A Valentino V is the cologne that was Eric Balfour sponsored. It's a Valentini, and he's got the kind of V in his physique. So a lot of V's going on. My menu is very inappropriate. So it's 1 ounce of Godiva milk chocolate liqueur, half an ounce of Godiva white chocolate liqueur, and half an ounce of vodka, and a chocolate covered strawberry. You shake the 1 ounce. You shake it all together, add ice, strain into a chilled martini glass, garnish with a chocolate-covered strawberry, and enjoy. The Valentino V Valentini. And if you want a little extra spice, maybe a little dab of the Valentino V cologne in your drink.
Just don't try to make it a flaming shot, because then you go up in smoke.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm sure that, that's the drink the vendors sell at Fredalba concerts, and
Valentinis.
Valentinis, that's right. They are a Los Angeles band. That could be very popular.
Hey! I found the Valentini on the website Maine Spirits in their recipes. So I'm just saying. Apparently, this is a Maine thing. Is the Valentinis. Duke's just giving it the Valentino V tweak.
Well, that's the signature drink at the Grey Gull. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cheating a Haven Pale Ale. I mean,
he's got that on tap,
Yeah, well, yeah, he gets it, fresh from the microbrewery. Yeah.
Or he smuggles it.
Yeah. He routes it through. Canada to get cheaper pricing. And
all right. Well, so what are we having for dessert?
Okay, so we got two. We got so I didn't know this, but the Whoopie Pie.
God damn it! All right,
because the Whoopie Pie is Pennsylvania gets credit with being like the originator of the Whoopie Pie, but apparently has a long history in Maine with all the different flavors. So, but that's not enough. Just one Whoopie Pie is not enough.
Don't tell me you did the same one as me. Continue.
And my last one, because they also like Indian pudding, but out of Kittery, Maine. But my last one is the Haven staple, the Big Benji Bar.
Oh yeah, that's good. It's good.
Yeah, that's my shitty menu. That
my dessert was going to be a Warnos Whoopie Pie, is what it was called.
I'm sorry, I stole your thunder.
But mine was going to be blueberry flavored because they like blueberry apparently up in Maine. According to my research. And
Chief seems usually to be in his Chief's uniform, which is that light blue.
Exactly. So we kind of make it look like, try to design the Whoopie Pie to look like a portly chief. So quite a menu. So we go to dinner at the Grey Gull, you and I. I'd get the deep fried Cargers with, I'm not really into... I'll go a little on a normal day. I would take a Rev's Red Snapper hot dog, but I'm gonna go a little. I'm hungry tonight, so I'm gonna go for the Lumberjacks banger in the mouth with a Valentino V Valentini to drink, and for dessert, I'll go with the my blueberry or our Whoopie Pie, our Warnos Whoopie Pie.
Yeah, I would. The Red Snappin' Dog, the Rev's Red Snappin' Dog was Red Snapper Dog was an entree, right?
Yeah. But you got to eat with the chips and the fucking licorice soda.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably drinking the soda and then just like spitting it to the side. But yeah, I would definitely do the dog because I hate seafood. I guess if I had to do, I actually am switching my app. Did you have one that was non-seafood?
Yeah, mine's fiddlehead ferns, deep fried fiddlehead ferns, so deep fried cargers.
I'm not, I eat meat, but I would go with that because I can't do popcorn shrimp. I probably could survive popcorn shrimp if I just like soak the fuck out of it with the cocktail sauce, but I just because I once got through calamari with that because a vendor took us to like a very expensive steakhouse, and I didn't want to be rude. I mean, they're dropping, hey, we're going to spend 500 on a meal for you, but you're going to buy 50,000 in equipment from us. So we're getting a deal.
You don't want the banger in the mouth?
That's seafood. That's actual seafood.
No, it's sausage. The lumberjack's banger in the mouth is beans and pork.
Oh yeah,
molasses.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I actually like the red Snappin dog. Those are two. Red snapper dog. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. For the dessert, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs whoopie pie as well. Even though I'll probably sneak a Big Benji bar as well on the side. No one has to know.
Well, you eat the Warnos whoopie pie in there, and then on your way out, you take the Benji Big Bar as you go walk along the pier, the beach at night, and then probably get killed by a fucking troubled, probably
someone with a fucking tattoo with 4 people at the 4 compass points.
and we'll just magically know. We'll be like, that's it, the tattoo.
Apparently, nobody can tan when they're outdoors in Haven. Yeah,
it's Maine.
Everyone's got pasty white skin.
Yeah, they're it's long winters. They're inside a lot.
Nathan looks pretty tan. Duke's pretty tan. He's out working on the working on the
Duke's
deck.
from LA. All right.
Okay.
Well, he's also smuggling, right? He probably spent a lot of time he's outside a lot. On the deck of a ship, working on stuff. Traveling from China, Russia, wherever he's going for smuggling. Nathan got some explaining to do though. He goes to a tanning salon.
But since he can't feel sunburn, so
that's true. It's true.
Fuck it, I'm going birthday suit on my days off. Oh, maybe not that far. Maybe
Yeah, maybe he's Speedo.
Yeah, he's wearing a banana hammock out to the pier.
Yeah, he just doesn't want anyone to see his Rev's red snapper dog. But I think that's it for this episode.
I think so.
We'll return to the town beneath the town in 1 week. The quickest way to reach us is by email. You can contact us at troubledrewatchpod@gmail.com. Once again, you can find us on just about any service where you listen to podcasts like Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio. We're on everything, man. We'll also have the podcast up on YouTube eventually, if that's all that's available to you. And it really helps us when you hit like or subscribe. And it helps even more if you leave a review. If you want the podcast straight from the source, you can visit us at troubledpodcast.com. We'll have all our episodes, news, and everything else in one place for you. If you want to follow us on Twitter for updates, you can follow us at Havens Troubled with a capital H and a capital T. We love making a show for you, but there are costs. We're trying to upgrade the equipment to make this sound even better. But we need your support to be able to do that. We have a Patreon page linked in the show notes with with a couple tiers. Our first one is for the Haven Tourist. That's $1 a month. That gets you behind the scenes documents and a shout out. Our $3, that's a Haven Citizen, gets you access to the exclusive episodes called Troubled with Extra Syrup. We've done 3 episodes already. And then we have a $5 tier where you join Haven's Troubled. I don't know. I guess that's a benefit. Maybe you get a cool power. And if you do that, you get the access to the director's cut episodes as they come out. And if you want some kind of live Q&A or something like that, a live video chat where we try to schedule one with you. The last bonus episode we did for Troubled with Extra Syrup was on the hard case crime book called Joyland by Stephen King. We each pitched a version of it to be turned into a TV show the way that Ernst & Dunn pitched Haven from the Colorado Kid. We're always excited for listener feedback, and we love to hear from you, whether it's criticism or praise. We just want to hear from you guys. And that's pretty much it from me. I'm Alex French.
And thanks, Alex. I want to thank everybody for listening. And I would be remiss if I didn't give another shout out to our first super fan and Patreon member, Frank. We love your support, Frank, and we're thankful for you for contacting us, and we would love for more of you to contact us. We would love for you to become Patreon members, and that we would, because I really think some of our bonus episodes are really good, and some of the director's cuts, some of the stuff we cut out, we've got some crazy stuff in there that I think you'll laugh. Alex doesn't get to rein me in as much, even though tonight was I needed to rein him in. I think I think I'm gonna have to ground him for a while, but. But I want to thank everyone once again, especially Frank, for listening. Please reach out and contact us, and please keep listening. Tell your friends, like and subscribe. And the most important thing, never let your troubles get you down.